Hey everybody, and welcome to MUR Minisodes The Faces of Charlie edition. I'm Dane,
I'm Harrison.
and we're excited to bring you this snippet of sweet, sweet Arkham content that somebody definitely wanted us to do. Today, we're going to be talking about Charlie Kane. I don't know if it's apparent from this splash here next to Harrison and I. We were invited by Veronica to do the many faces of Charlie Kane. So thank you, Veronica, for inviting us to explore this wonderful investigator who right now we know nothing really about. It's been an interesting ride to understand Charlie, and all these wonderful other creators are also doing some pretty cool content, figuring out Charlie's inner workings and exploring all the different other classes. I think that's like the goal. So
I see our name right there next to some symbols. Is there any sort of reason why those symbols are mixed together? Are we
No.
here to focus on?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No. Seeing that the symbols are completely irrelevant, we're going to be talking about Charlie. So, like, why are all these people, including us, pretty excited to talk about Charlie? Like who even is he? What does he do? Where's he from?
He's a civic and a socialite. But yeah, Charlie is a politician. He's unique in that he has ones and all stats. I know that scared people a lot in the beginning, especially when he was spoiled. But
Yeah, it definitely scared me.
But during a skill test you're performing, exhaust an ally asset you control. For this test, you get +1 for each skill icon that ally matches the test type, and +1, a general just for exhausting them. Yeah, Charlie's always been interesting in all of the games that he's been in. He's like
you played him Eldritch, right?
Yeah, I loved him in Eldritch. He uses influence skill, which doesn't exist here, to kind of help buy assets for himself and other people. And here, he's going to be the ally investigator, and so I guess that means that he has access to a bunch of different allies. Do we talk about his back yet, or?
Yeah, we can get into that. I think that the first thing that was interesting for me is that, like, so many people have theory crafted Charlie Kane. Like, before he came out, everybody was like, is he going to be a guardian? Is he going to be a survivor? Like, what makes sense here? And this stat line, again, scared me, but also we've only seen this once before in Lola,
Yeah.
who is another sort of like puzzle investigator. And when you see the first line of an investigator text say, you have 3 additional ally slots.
That's true.
That was just like oh, okay. So we're going to be dealing in allies, and this is a really interesting effect. And combined with the back of Charlie, which is the whole reason we're here, makes a pretty interesting investigator.
Yep. So standard deck size, at deck creation, choose 2 classes, and Charlie has access to all 5 of the classes. So you choose 2 of them. And deck building options, ally cards level 0 to 5, which is so bonkers just to have so much versatility. Neutral cards level 0 to 5, and then cards from your chosen classes level 0 to 2. So it's not events, it's not assets, it's all cards from your chosen classes level 0 to 2. So looks like Charlie is, very flexible, doesn't have the Lola condition that you have to choose when you want to activate them. It's just everything that you have at your disposal is available to you at all times, which is pretty neat. Deck building requirements, Body Wash, which I'm sure we're going to talk about plenty of times, and Bread and Leadership, a weakness. So yeah, very cool deck building, and so choosing 2 classes. Is there what do we want to say about that?
Well, I think maybe, now that I think about it, those 2 symbols that we saw on the first slide are actually pretty relevant.
Yeah.
They're actually the 2 symbols that we chose to talk about, which are Guardian and Survivor. That's sort of like our Guardian, or our Charlie talk today.
Yeah.
It's like our TED Talk, or Charlie Talk today.
Charlie Talk.
And 0 to 2 access in all of these two classes, that is a lot of cards. Like 2 is sort of like the big sort of like you are this class kind of a splash. Yeah. And 0 to 5 in allies is just unheard of. So so talking maybe a little bit more about maybe the intricacies of Charlie. So like why Charlie in terms of who Bonnie is and what is he going to be dealing with burden of leadership.
Okay. Yeah. I'll talk about Bonnie. So Bonnie's neat. After you exhaust Bonnie, ready another ally asset you control. So other than other ways to exhaust Bonnie, most of the time she's going to be exhausting through Charlie's ability, which allows her to add 1 plus 2 2 matching icons. So she's mostly going to be whenever you use her in a skill or a skill test, adding 3 and unexhausting other allies. So I see a few other allies here. Maybe we could talk about some of those synergies that she has. She's not even that fragile. 2/2. She doesn't have a kind of a weak spot. So
yeah,
she's pretty neat. Not the cheapest ally, but I think that she's the backbone of every Charlie deck.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty true from watching you play a lot of Charlie. So sort of getting into allies. This is a pile of allies, and a lot of them are pretty good. So Leo DeLuca, obviously one of the best allies from the beginning of the game. Jeremiah Kirby, a new favorite for folks. Jacob Morrison, question marks, and Field Agent. Everybody loves Field Agent. The potential of Field Agent is pretty cool.
Beat cut for clues.
Yeah, so the thing about some of these allies is that they sort of have just a static ability, right? That's like on, you may take an additional action during your turn, or Jeremiah's case, when he comes down, you reveal the top 5 cards, draw a bunch of cards, gives you a static boost, pretty good. But then they just kind of
sit there,
don't do really much else. I mean, Leo obviously is doing something every turn, but like for the purposes of this sort of explanation, it's like Charlie gets extra mileage out of them because he's able to use their intellect icon, give it a little bit of a boost and then use that. But he's also able to use really interesting effects that not really other investigators would be able to do, like with Field Agent and Jacob, right? So Jacob normally would be exhausted and then you would need a bless token to re-ready him. But Bonnie can re-ready. So that's kind of cool. And Field Agent, get some extra value out of Field Agent, whether you're using her for their symbols or for the actual ability to pick up a clue fast.
Yep.
And then the weakness, the burden of being such a great leader, right? So at first glance, if you control no ally assets, shuffle it back into your deck. So it's kind of always a threat. Otherwise, for each ally you control, either exhaust it or deal it 1 direct damage and 1 direct horror. Direct damage is very scary on allies historically. I think it's sort of like there are certain encounter cards in the history of the game that have been like, oh, this is the Milan killer.
Kill Milan,
this is the Renfield killer, or whatever. But there's an interesting part about this card in Arkham Horror, the card game. And Ben can throw up a bunch of text on this slide if I'm wrong. But there's the thing that whenever you're given a choice like this, it should usually say like choose one, or you must. The must clause is really important to keep in here, because if it doesn't say you must, even if all of your allies are already exhausted, you can just choose to exhaust them, and even though nothing really happens with them, it just goes to the discard pile, and you never really ever have to end up dealing them direct damage and horror.
So you're choosing to exhaust an exhausted ally?
Yeah.
And if Bonnie happens to be unexhausted, then she could just unexhaust somebody else, right?
Yes, exactly. So, not the worst in terms of weaknesses. It's by no means a rookie mistake, right?
Do we think that it was that combination's like rules is written thing, and you should play it that way, or
I don't know. No comment.
Okay.
But so we chose Guardian and Survivor, right? Not a lot of these allies are Guardian and or Survivor. And we should talk about why we chose Guardian and Survivor and what role Guardian and Survivor's playing, ignoring this graphic entirely.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about when we do it, but I mean, I think that when we were looking at Charlie, we just wanted to kind of see how fighty he can get. You know, you roll deep, and you can definitely, mess some people up with your gang. So, I immediately thought about Blue, and we'll talk about where Survivor fit in the picture too.
Yeah. So I think it's worth mentioning. I wasn't really keen on playing Charlie the second that he was previewed, but Harrison's been waiting for him for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
And Guardian is one of Harrison's favorite classes, so we knew that it was going to be like sort of a Guardian thing, and then we decided on Survivor for a few reasons we're going to get into, but so we're actually going to be showing a deck that Harrison did play through a custom campaign, Alice in Wonderland, which for folks who don't know, mysteriouschanting.com is a really cool website full of a bunch of really fantastic people who create a bunch of great custom content for this game, including Alice in Wonderland.
And this one specifically was created by the Beard and with help from everybody on that server. But we played through this, and to note that we kind of wanted to stretch our legs with a lot of the investigators that were spoiled at the time, and some of the cards that were spoiled for Scarlet Keys. So we didn't have all of the tricks that were available, but we actually ran this campaign right after the day that MUR spoiled Daryl Simmons. So I ran the Charlie Kane with Daryl Simmons like the day after with Ben, and we went through the eight scenario campaign, and I thought that we were a pretty good team. We were able to kind of shore up each other's weaknesses, and Daryl was able to kind of help. We'll talk a little bit about like how Daryl helped with the tempo probably a little later, but it went really well. Charlie was the main fighter in that situation, and I think we got the true ending. So,
hooray!
Yeah.
But
spoiler alert.
Again, I was gonna say Ben can throw up the link to this. And, you can go check that out yourself, because it is an MUR Plays series. We have 8 videos up for it, and Harrison and Ben are pretty entertaining. So, yeah. So, as far as the scope of this goes, however, let's talk about the Guardian and Survivor card strengths.
Sure.
Like, why are we putting in these cards in this deck, right? So, Guardian, very fighty class, very supporty class, a lot of allies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what were you excited to play as far as Guardian cards go?
A lot of the time when I look at cards and that investigator's in the card, I try to get them on there. So like Unrelenting for Silas, or
sure.
But Motivational Speech just came out, was just announced, and really was a huge backbone for that. And there was a lot of Guardian synergies that happened with that to kind of save economy. So Ever Vigilant saved a lot of time. Motivational Speech, we call it Uncage the Friend, because was able to reduce the cost by 3. One thing that was really worth noting is that the motivational speech is actually really flexible, especially when you do need allies out, because it's a parlay. So that means that you can, if you have the action to do it, you can parlay right before, even when you're engaged with an enemy, to pull out, say, a beat cop. So
super important, right? Totally.
But a lot of the Guardian allies give you plus fists, and you'll see in the deck that we have, which I'm sure will be links, that a lot of the allies did end up focusing on 1 or 2 skills, and Charlie, his job was only to focus on fighting, and I thought that was really good to be able to focus. His stat line of 1 is pretty rough, and it would be pretty hard to kind of get all of the skills to kind of reasonable states for like a generic investigator. So we focused on one thing, and Guardian cards aren't the cheapest, and I think that anybody that has played Guardians might run into issues where you run out of you run out of tempo, where you just kind of have to maybe even take the dreaded click action to get a resource. Oof. But I mean, there were a lot of tricks that we were able to use in the Survivor tech, but I think that a lot of these were helpful. Some of them are just backbone skill cards, overpower, vicious blows, just to get that to ready to go. B cups were again really great to get them out. They're able to ping easily. We'll spoil a little bit that we use bandages. Bandages and B cops were really clutch in that as soon as you deal B cop the damage from the effect, which does exhaust them, you get to heal it immediately. So we were able to get a lot more pings off of that. But
pretty good.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk about it. And if you watch any more of these videos, you'll hear about like the choice between using B cop or using any ally for its effect, exhaust effect, or using Charlie. And that was a choice that I had to make a lot, whether I'd like to deal a guaranteed testless damage or kind of help skill icons. B cups have one fist, so they're only really bringing two skill pump for fights. So it's not the best, but sometimes it was a choice, and you don't always want to deal the damage, but those were kind of the standout cards for Guardian.
Yeah, and I feel like B Cop definitely, obviously, really did well, and I feel like since the beginning of time, I've always wondered why B Cop had an agility icon on it, but it weirdly helped out a couple times where you had to like evade something and or pass an agility test or something like that, and then Bonnie could get the B Cop back up. So that was kind of cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's talk about these Survivor cards.
So at least in my experience, Charlie takes a lot of time to set up. To get those skill icons up. No matter what combination you have, you're probably going to be waiting a little while to get your allies out. So this is almost a Mystic level tempo. Just like it takes a while. So I think that Survivor's always had a pretty good ramp up. Charlie with ones is gonna fail a lot of tests just inevitably. So the fail package is really great. So sometimes I would hard mull for a Rabbit's Foot or a Take Heart, just knowing that in the beginning he might be failing things. So I think the first action of the first scenario that we did, Charlie did a Take Heart on an investigation of like 4. It was a Shroud of 4. I was like, I'm definitely going to fail this. It's great. I'm going to play a Take Heart. And that was pretty jarring because Charlie actually, if you want to go back, like has a pretty awesome Elder Sign effect.
Yeah, it's a +3, and then you get to ready an ally, I think, or something.
Yeah, you ready an ally at your location. So
yeah.
I did fail.
Huge.
I did fail that Take Heart test. So he's not failing.
You failed at failing.
I failed at failing. So I mean that set the stage. But I mean that +3 is really good. But Live and Learn was really Live and Learn has a really nice combination with the Derringer. One of the nice things that we slotted in after a few scenarios was Miss Doyle. Miss Doyle is kind of a 2-in-1 package, or I guess 3-in-1 package, 4-in-1 package. 4-in-1. When you get her out, you get to add her bonded kitties to your deck or hand, and they just become more things that you can tap that don't take up ally slots. So really cool. Yeah, really getting as many allies as you can so that you can be a lot more flexible is really helpful. So Miss Doyle, other than kind of being soak, was actually able to kind of be used as a +2 for anything I wanted to tap, and the other cats have the guaranteed pass tests or just pretty flexible icons. So they really helped throughout the scenario.
Yeah, I think that Miss Doyle already, like, even without the cats, it's kind of hard to find an ally with a wild symbol, right? Like, this was one of the only ones, And if just even Mist Oil, who doesn't really have any other text, sort of one of those like set it and forget it sort of cards, is like wild symbol plus a wild symbol. Oh, that's +2 to any stat, right? And then on top of that, you also get these allies who are fast. These little kitties who can give you some boosts and help you out at a base of 5 at any given time. So that was really cool. I think general like strategy for Survivor is a little bit more up my alley, where your live and learns, you sort of want to make sure that you're not committing things before if you have a live and learn, and you can be a little bit more risque. And then commit your overpowers or your vicious blows on the second when you have the big buff kind of a thing. Combos with the Derringer, like Harrison said. Eventually, Oops got in the deck, and I think this deck started with just some Beat Cops, Guard Dogs, and Lonnies, and maybe had another Rabbit's Foot or so in it, and then it sort of evolved into more of a ally spread where you could cover more of your bases with like Test of Will, Flares, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I liked seeing like the versatility of Survivor, because you can really like lean into so many things just because of the fact that you've got ones and everything. It kind of turns it on its head, where it's like, oh, I'm going to fail every single evade that I do. And then you can kind of slot in Dumb Luck level 2, which is a really good card. Or you can slot in Oops and also use Live and Learn. In one attack, you can do like 4 damage. And those are like things that you sort of find out when you're playing, but general sort of strategy when you're using Survivor stuffs. So maybe to like come to a bit of a close, what are some sort of general tips for playing Charlie that you found?
So Charlie's allies are, you really want to make sure that you're using them at the right time. And, just make sure that you're not trying to pass every single test or fight, like if you're fighting or if you're doing clues, like always like trying to go into tests kind of half-assed. Like you want to full-ass your test. So most of the time I focused on 1 or 2 big tests, which is really good for at least fighting. That's where the Beat Cops kind of fit in, where they were able to kind of help clean up any extra damage that happened. So focus on 1 or 2 big tests each turn, which kind of brings me back to the second point. Your ally assets, health, insanity, or resources, use them. Sometimes Charlie just has to fail some tests. It's not really worth trying to make sure that you pass something in the the encounter phase, because then you just might find yourself in a situation where you can't do something productive during the investigator phase. So make sure that you're using their health and sanity. You don't necessarily want to kill your assets, but just use that buffer, because he starts with 6/6 and 6 health and 6 sanity, and I think that was a purposeful choice, because just to kind of show that you want to get allies to kind of sponge that. And don't really think I, except for a couple scenarios, really put too much damage on Charlie the whole time.
Yeah. All of your allies were jumping in front of the big baddies for sure.
Yeah. And the third one is Bonnie is your best friend. You want to use Bonnie cleverly. She can do a few tricks, like if there's a test you really needed to pass, you can exhaust one of your allies that aren't Bonnie, then exhaust Bonnie to unexhaust that same first ally, then exhaust that one again, so that you're up by a lot. Or Bonnie could be used to help do a test to unexhaust like a Jacob, or a field agent like you showed earlier, or even Beat Cops. So there's a lot of flexibility for Bonnie. I don't think that there's anybody that is going to be in these video series that's going to say that you don't want a hard mull for Bonnie. Like, she's just really great to have out and super flexible. She's going to bring 3 icons to any test. So I think that those are like mostly the basic Charlie tips. But I mean, I think that you want to just, otherwise in general, you just want to keep the kind of tempo in mind about what Charlie's doing. Like he takes a little bit of ramp up, and
Yeah.
you want to build that way, just to be able to hold off until you're able to play your assets, and then once Charlie's flying, he's flying.
Yeah. I think that when you had your allies down, which was helped a bunch by like ever vigilance, making sure to not like maul those, or like your motivational speeches were even pretty great when you drew them later because you have 4 ally slots, so you can just play more beat cops. Like these are all things that are like you get a feel for when you're playing, but also like this is just one deck, right? Like this isn't Survivor and Guardian are 2 classes that are very well known for if you have the access to the Innsmouth Conspiracy package. And this is totally riffing, but if you have access to the Innsmouth Conspiracy package, you have all of these bless cards available to you that have been seen to be good in like Yorick and Tommy. Traditionally, they have the most access to all the blessed tech, so you can really do a bunch of stuff with that too, having access to level 0 to 2 in both classes, and then all of the allies. So you can get like Jacob, you can get like Nephthys, you can get like all these neat things, and he'd be a great asset in that way as well. We didn't really make a deck for it, but that would be a cool idea too. So I mean, all of these things are our experiences with this deck, and again, there are so many other content creators who are making videos about all the different other combinations for Charlie. You know, Cluey Charlies, Hybrid Charlies, Charlie Charlies, like there's
Deny Charlies.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah. So, folks, do you have any experiences with Charlie already? What's your favorite Charlie class combo?
Charlie class combo. That's a mouthful.
Let us know. Reach out to us. Leave us a comment here or email us at comments@mur.fm. Follow us over on social networks, including Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, or join our Discord server to hang out with us and talk about Charlie. We don't really have a channel for it yet, but, you know, it can always happen.
We'll make a Charlie channel. Let's do it.
The links to all of these are over at social.mur.fm. And if you really enjoy what we do, you can always leave us a nice comment, a like here, subscribe, and leave us a nice review on your favorite podcast source, because we like podcasts. Thanks, everybody, for being here today and checking out this video, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.